My name is Gino Stroop. Today I'm going to be discussing the challenges of a single, centralized, monolithic enterprise data warehouse for a global multi-brand firm. I know it's a mouthful, but hopefully the presentation is not a mouthful. So the first thing we're going to do is talk about what exactly a data warehouse is and what a data mart is. Then we're going to talk about the common problems. Then I'm going to give you all a case study that I hope you guys find interesting, and then I'll give you some questions to post so we can discuss them this week. So first, let's talk about the difference between a data warehouse and a data mart. A data warehouse holds the information for multiple subject areas. So it's going to hold information across the firm for things like ERP, SAP, and human resources. The information that it collects is going to be very specific. The general idea behind a data warehouse is to have all this information integrated into a single place where you can use all these data sources to extract information. When we talk about a data mart, we're only talking about something that generally focuses on a particular subject area, such as finance, sales, ERP, HR. The data is going to be very summarized, but it may hold a full detail, but not necessarily. The biggest difference between a data warehouse and a data mart is you could make decisions across an organization and across different uh, enterprise system functions versus in a data mart you couldn't make those decisions because you wouldn't have the information from HR if you were just looking at the sales database. So what we're looking at are the challenges of a single, centralized, monolithic enterprise data warehouse for a global multi-brand firm. So think about General Electric and how they have multiple different brands, and think about how they are going to integrate all their data. And if they're going to do that, does it make sense, and what challenges they would face in doing so? What I'm going to talk about next are some of the challenges that present themselves when you do try to integrate data across a single monolithic enterprise data warehouse. So what we're looking at is a list of common problems or missteps that may happen when a firm is trying to implement a global enterprise data warehouse installation. One of the things that we can look at is different servers and infrastructure. Let's say you're GE Capital and you are also trying to integrate data from GE Finance. Let's assume that GE Capital uses Windows-based environment and GE Finance uses a Linux-based environment. You're going to run into issues when you try to take that data out because the data is not going to match up exactly. Another thing we can look at are different business rules. Let's say that you're talking about North America versus EMEA. Let's say that in North America, you have to retain human resources records for a certain amount of time, or human resources records need to be stripped of certain data, versus in EMEA, that data can be presented as is. So you'll run into that problem as well. Just take a look over this list just so that you're aware of some of the common problems you can run into. One thing I would also like to add to this list is that there could be financial problems or cost problems with implementing a global enterprise data warehouse across brands. So let's take a look at our case study that I'm going to be discussing in this particular presentation, and it's the Gap. The Gap has a bunch of different brands. They have Old Navy, Banana Republic, Piper Lime, which is their online division for shoes. They have Athleta. They were founded in 1969. They have about 3,000 stores and a little over 100,000 employees. They have locations all throughout the USA in 26 countries. At the time of writing or some numbers that I could find on them were in 2008 they did $14 billion in sales, and $1 billion of those sales were from online. So what we're going to talk about is the problems they may have discussed or run into when they were trying to implement their enterprise data warehouse solution across all these different brands. So I've entitled this slide Humble Beginnings, meaning that when the Gap started, they did not have the software necessary to answer the questions that they wanted answered. So in the year 2000, Michael Jones, who was the senior vice president of IT for the Gap, decided that it was a great idea to have all the different brands using the same data warehouse, and that information would be used to make strategic business decisions. Prior to that happening, the Gap used data marts. So you could only extract information for Banana Republic or the Gap on a singular basis, and you could only make decisions on a singular basis. So those at the top could not see what was happening across all different brands other than saying, let's look at 5 different reports for our 5 different brands and let's see where we need to go. So how did the Gap get all these brands across the globe onto a single monolithic cross-brand enterprise data warehouse? What they did was they contracted a company called Teradata. They set up an enterprise data warehouse based upon one that they had used in other retail operations. They designated a data czar who worked with every company or every brand, such as Banana Republic, Piperlime, Athleta, the Gap, and they all worked together in order to get the data in a single normalized format. Prior, the Gap was only able to answer 15 questions based upon what their data showed or what they were able to extract from the data marts. After, they were able to answer 96 questions that were based upon the data that they got from their enterprise data warehouse. They could produce unique reports, and they could get immediate feedback on promotions that they offered. Some of the challenges that they faced were getting that data from silos into working enterprise data warehouses, or from data marts into the enterprise data warehouse. That was a huge challenge. Another challenge could have been the cost. I could assume that this was not an inexpensive undertaking, so we look at the Gap and saying that you have to have the resources and the budget in order to say that you want to undertake this, and you have to have the approval from top management, not just the IT department. So what we have here are a list of common problems that you may run across when implementing a enterprise data warehouse across multiple brands that spans the globe. And I want you to think about, how do you think this could have been relevant to the Gap or any firm for that matter? What I'm going to talk about just quickly are different software versions. Let's assume that if you're looking at the Gap and Banana Republic and online sales, the Gap and Banana Republic are going to have a POS that is totally different from that which is from online sales. So when they are trying to implement the enterprise data warehouse, they're going to have to normalize all that data so that it goes into the enterprise data warehouse smoothly. If you want, you can think about different business rules and say, how could those rules be different across brands, where they would have to normalize the data in order to make it fit together or mesh well. All right, everyone, thank you for bearing with me. I know my presentation was just a little bit lengthy this week, so I'm going to present you with two questions, and what I want you to do is answer any one of the two questions, and I'll write back to you. In your opinion, what are the drawbacks and advantages of having a single enterprise data warehouse that serves the entire firm? Or do you prefer the idea of a enterprise data warehouse or a bus architecture, which we heard from the lectures? And if so, why? Those are the questions I want you to think about and ponder and write about it. I'll get back to you, and I look forward to speaking with you this week. Thank you very much.